a closed session before this meeting, and we need to come in first from closed session. So I have a statement I need to read, and then I'll need a motion in a second. The matters discussed in the closed meeting today were limited only to those specified in the notice of a separate closed meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, Madam Clerk?
Vice Chair Lyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Block?
Aye.
Commissioner Holden Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Eichel?
Yes.
Chair Chapman?
Chair votes yes. Introductions and announcements, fellow commissioners. Commissioner Block?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the capacity crowd and those downstairs watching on the monitors as well. And I'd like to thank our fighters and our sheriff's deputies for doing what they're doing tonight. A couple people in the crowd I want to notice first. One gentleman here is an interesting fellow who I vehemently disagree with on so many things, but he's a friend of mine. He's a very good man, and I'm so glad to have him back. He lives in Placitas. We had lunch like 2 months ago, and the gentleman got hurt during our lunch. I was with Dr. Friedman and this gentleman, and he was in a hospital for a while, and I'm so glad to have him back. His name is Bob Wesley. Bob, can you try to stand up, please? Fantastic. It's good to see you, my friend, and next time you're buying lunch. So, I had to take you up.
You got a deal.
Yeah. Two other friends of mine that are here, great people as well. Mr. Diego Espinoza in the back area. Diego, just want to say thank you for coming, sir. Very much appreciate it. And then another friend of mine back there, Tom Mullins. Tom, can you raise your hand? Thank you for coming. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, about a month ago, right after the Houston hurricane, this just goes to show you the type of people here in Sandoval County. I had two employees, or we had two employees, that wanted to do something for the fantastic people of Houston and Beaumont that were hit, and by the way, they're still suffering. So the two employees hooked up with our fire chief, Chief Maxson. If you just come sit here for a second, I just have a couple questions for you on what we're doing. So the county employees took it upon themselves to put together a relief effort to support our fellow citizens next door in Texas. And we are directly impacting about 4 families. And Chief, if you could just elaborate on that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So about a month ago, we put out notice to all the county employees that we were taking up donations to help the victims of Hurricane Harvey down in the Houston area. And this weekend, county employee Christine Cruz and her husband from Chophurst will be taking the items to Beaumont, Texas. And just for example, one of the families is a family that is homeless now and living in a shelter with 4 children. And a lot of the things that they collected were a lot of baby items like baby beds, diapers, items that an infant would need. And so we'll be taking that to the Beaumont, Texas area. And that's just one of the 4 families that those items are going to directly go to and help.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to thank you for your leadership and all those that helped these 4 families who were directly impacted by the hurricane. Thank you. Appreciate that, Chief. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, I would like to thank, are there any teachers in the house tonight? I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. I was given one of the buttons here to put on, but I think Stephanie back there asked me to do it. So I am the only commissioner up here with kids in the public school system, 2 at Rio Rancho High School. One's a football player, they're 6 and 2. We're learning 1 in the state, but we'll fix that later. I just want to thank you all for what you do every day with our young kids. So thank you so much, and thank you for coming. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments or announcements? I'm sorry, Commissioner Eichel.
I just want to introduce Governor from San Felipe Pueblo, Governor Ortiz. Could you please stand? county commission meetings on numerous occasions, and I want to recognize you.
Yep, thank you very much, Commissioner Eichel. Commissioner Hahn? Okay, and Commissioner Holden Rhodes is going to defer to Commissioner comments later on tonight. Thank you for those comments and the introductions and announcements. Before we get to agenda item number 4, comments from the public, I have a bit of news that I want to share with everyone in the room, because I think a lot of you are here tonight to talk to the issue of the oil and gas ordinance. So it was brought to the county's attention today that there was a discrepancy between the notice that was published in the Albuquerque Journal and where the ordinance was posted on the county's website. So because of that discrepancy, we've decided tonight that we are going to remove agenda item 8A from the agenda. So I'm giving you a heads up now in case you signed up to speak to that specific item. We will not be addressing agenda item 8A tonight. And we won't be changing the agenda until we get to item number 6. So if you are here to speak in terms of public comment about the oil and gas ordinance, I will tell you that this board is not going to take the action tonight that we had on the agenda 8A. And I'm willing to take a recess if some folks want to leave because of that. Okay, I will tell you on November the 16th, we will be taking up the issue then, okay? We will have it published and posted. And by the way, a little bit more details about this. When we learned what the discrepancy was today, we got it all squared away with the Albuquerque Journal. And the new ordinance, it's not a new ordinance, the ordinance is posted and published in the Albuquerque Journal effective Sunday morning. It'll be in Sunday's paper. No changes other than that, okay? So if there are some of you that want to leave now, we'll wait a minute for the room to clear. There might be some folks that want to come in from, I think they're watching down on the first floor. I'll leave that to the deputy fire chief to manage that. People coming in versus people that are leaving. Okay, so with that said, I'm happy to move on to public comment. Now, some of you who signed up for public comment tonight, I know I have personally heard from you at least a dozen times over the last 2 years. So tonight, we're going to give you 1 minute. So when you come up, you want to be concise with your comments, and please don't repeat what we've heard time and time again, on this issue. So I'm going to go with the public comment. I'm calling up Randy Erickson first. Mr. Erickson, do you want to address the board? Okay. And I'm going to remind Maria that we're giving 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute.
You get 1 minute?
You got 1 minute, sir.
I know. Excuse me, point of order, sir. I don't get that. We had 2 minutes.
Ma'am?
Yes, I'm sorry, sir, don't the rules say that it's 3 minutes for public
It
comment?
is 3 minutes for public comment, but I've heard a dozen times from these folks. So I'm not, 3 minutes is 3 minutes.
That's itself.
I will clear the room. Nobody will have any public comment. Would you like to have it that way?
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be good.
We've been doing this for 2 years, leadership. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute. If you want to take your minute, you're welcome to it. If you don't, you're welcome to leave too. Mr. Erickson.
Commissioners, is this thing on?
Mike, sir.
Is this thing on? Yes, there you go. My friend Steve here is an expert in sound or in cognition, which includes hearing, and he wanted to demonstrate what 80 decibels means. So I'd like to give my time to him and his time for him to just show you what, in terms of the noise control issue, noise control part of the oil and gas ordinance, what the 80 decibels actually feels like.
I understand where you're going with this, Mr. Erickson, and I saw the demonstration that was given during the P&Z meeting. And I find this demonstration to be totally unscientific, but I'm gonna allow it to happen. Come on up, sir, and do your demonstration.
If you don't mind my asking, since we have dB meters on our phones,
But
and
you're not simulating 750 feet away from the
Don't have
sound.
to, sir. That's not,
he can,
That's the way the ordinance is written. Mr. Erickson, your time's up. And your
Thank
name,
you.
sir?
my name is Stephen Palmer. I'm a professor emeritus from Berkeley,
Okay,
and my
that's
field is
your list.
perceptual science. And the 750, you specify in the ordinance that that's where it's measured. So if we give you each a sound meter, when it says 80 decibels, that's what it's going to sound like at the property line of the person who's next to the oil drilling rig.
If you want to get it done, I recommend get started.
Okay, so this is going to be hopefully a demonstration of what, this is a fracking noise. And we're going to turn it up. Copy that.
it's not coming out of it.
We're not connected here. Oh, great. Well, we could just, we'll do it this way.
Yeah, it probably would.
No, it's not going to be loud enough.
Not connected.
Oh, I know. I just don't have it down. Oh, that had to be. I think it's important for you to hear this because otherwise you're just making judgments about numbers and you don't know what it sounds like.
Water trucks keep coming in, sand trucks. There's a home right across the road and either side of this site. This is the fracking nightmare. This is what people have to listen to
24/7 for 30 minutes.
Alan Friedman?
I'll pass.
Okay, sir. Bob Wesley? Good to have you back, Bob.
One minute is pretty short when you're prepared for
Louder,
two.
please.
1 minute is pretty short when you're prepared for two. I'm disappointed in finding how badly your oil and gas ordinances run off the tracks. The flawed process and the incomplete content will expose the county to significant liability, possibly immediately, and certainly after the first explosive accident or pollution leak event. Please reject this ordinance draft and demand a better one. Flawed process. You truncated the normal Planning and Zoning Commission process. You discarded the Planning and Zoning Commission memorandum of content recommendations. You unnecessarily rushed a vote to publish the Stoddard draft less than 2 months after it was born.
Hold it down, folks, please.
I'm sorry,
Lean in a little bit to the mic.
oh, sorry. Is the clock stopped?
No, it's still ticking, but go ahead.
Okay, you unnecessarily rushed a vote to publish the Stoddard draft less than 2 months after it was born. Your current draft includes material changes after your approved publication in September. You're adopting the ordinance less than a week after the text was first posted on your website. Content shortfalls. The county was clearly alerted to the substantial risks from this industry. Overwhelming expert and layman public comment, as well as hundreds of documented studies and articles. The draft arbitrarily and capriciously ignores virtually all of those risks which OCD does not effectively address. Todd?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll hand out the rest.
Okay, Grace Shore. Grace Shore.
I think you skipped my name. I was second on the list.
Donna, okay, well, there was a name crossed out, that's how I missed yours. I'll get you.
Okay.
Let's have Grace,
Okay.
and then we'll get you, Donna.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Grace Shore. I live in Placitas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Some of the assurances you have been given have been meaningfully less than accurate. Let me correct some misleading claims. The Citizens Ordinance brings just as many oil wells and jobs as the Stoddard Ordinance. Regulatory costs are trivial compared to the 7-figure anticipated profit from each well. The Citizens Ordinance is far less stringent than the Santa Fe, San Miguel, and the Jicarilla Apache ordinances, so it will not deter industry. OCD does not monitor groundwater pollution, nor does it require monitoring. Number 4, there have been problems. OCD documents 34 events of New Mexico groundwater impact and 44 events of affected surface waterways since 2012. 5, wages for local residents will not average the claimed $75,000 a year. The Bureau of Labor Statistics cites $40,500. Number 6, industry does not need an ordinance passed in a hurry. The industry can apply and drill right now under existing county ordinance. The ordinance has not taken 18 months to develop. It was born 2 months ago when the county discarded more than a year's work of staff work.
Ms. Shore?
Thank you very much. I'm going to pass these out
Okay,
if you
thank
don't mind.
You can just give them to the clerk and she can pass it out for you. Thank you very
You sure?
much.
You don't want me to?
Donna?
I'm going to pass them to the
You
news.
can pass them out if you'd like. Ms.
Donna Dowell, Placitas. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, do Commissioners want to represent constituents? Do Commissioners want to represent your constituents?
Is the light on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I believe you can represent your constituents. Commissioners, are you willing to sit down and talk to some of us and engage in sincere conversation about what an ordinance need include? I propose that we engage in meaningful dialogue with the stated objective of adopting an ordinance we can all live with. Such a forum would not be a protest or a free-for-all, would be facilitated by a professional mediator, and such a forum and would represent people, including sovereign nations. I'm prepared to present to the board resumes of professional facilitators. Together, our ability to find middle ground speaks to our humanity. The last 18 months have not been wasted if we let it serve as a foundation for a workable agreement. Such an opportunity can happen with agreed parameters, a facilitator, and limits that will get the job done. Certainly the process thus far has not been productive, so why not change your course? And I just want to mention Commissioner Holden Rhodes, that we the people, that's who we are. We're the people. You need to listen to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Connie Falk. I live in Placitas. I'm a retired professor of agricultural economics from New Mexico State University, where I taught for 25 years. I understand that the rush to put this matter behind you may be due to pressure from a particular company that has deadlines to worry about. However, the oil is not going anywhere. If a significant amount of oil is recoverable from Sandoval County, it only gets worth more the longer we wait. So just like you don't marry the first person you danced with in junior high school, you don't need to accommodate the first oil company that comes to your doorstep. In fact, if they are pleading financial strains regarding the common sense requests in the citizens ordinance, this should be a red flag to you. The citizens ordinance is not onerous nor out of line with industry standards followed by financially solvent companies operating elsewhere. The current ordinance as written will allow the oil and gas operators to reap all the profits while externalizing to Sandoval County and its citizens all of the risks and costs associated with spills, emergency noise, water, soil, and air pollution, road deterioration, financial insolvency of industry operators, soil erosion, and economic inputs of a boom and bust industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paul.
Ready to start the clock?
I'm not running the clock. Maria is. Did you start it, Maria? Okay, she started it.
My name is Mark LeClaire from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Mr. Chapman, at the meeting on the 21st of September, you said that you thought we'd all agree that everyone's been able to participate in this ordinance process. But I don't agree, because if you don't respond to us in a meaningful way, that's not participation. A lot of people got turned away tonight, and I just respectfully ask all you commissioners at the next meeting that this will be considered, that you open this up to a larger venue so that people can at least have the illusion of participating. You also said that you didn't want to bother us by reiterating once again how dependent we were on fossil fuels. There's a logic that you're using, but I find it a flawed logic. It's like saying a junkie is dependent on heroin.
Thank you, Mr. McFarland.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Mary Feldblum, and I'm for Corrales, and I'm here to thank you, Commissioner Holden Rhodes, for that wonderful letter that you wrote and has spread around, really saying that how important it is, your role, to listen to the people. And I think that's what's so frustrating with so many people here, is that they feel that they haven't been listened to. And you articulating that, I really, really appreciate that. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you, Mary. John Andrew.
Good evening, Commissioners. I've been accused of calling you out on your patriotism. I apologize for that. I don't question any of your patriotism. What I do question is these machines over here. These machines kill fascists. Turn that camera on. What is happening here is you're stifling the First Amendment rights of the citizens of Sandoval County, giving us a minute. This is wrong, and this is un-American. We should not be doing this. And when I call you out for saying poverty wages are not American, I am not questioning your patriotism. I am simply stating a fact. That is not what we do in this country. We do not drive down wages to third world country wages, and that's what a right to work ordinance is going to do here in Sandoval County. And I will come back and take my minute as long as it takes until we realize that citizens have a right by the Constitution. You stood up there and you pledged allegiance to the flag in this Constitution, and you said we can come and redress our government. And it's ridiculous to give us 60 seconds to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Anderson Crawford?
That's me. That's Andrea LaCruz.
Andrea?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Andrea LaCruz Crawford. I'm an attorney representing the Common Ground Community Trust. I'm an attorney representing the Common Ground Community Trust. And I actually sent a letter to Ms. Smallwood yesterday asking her to please consider these occupancy loads in the meeting requirements under the Open Meetings Act, and to make sure that people have an opportunity to speak, be heard, and to witness the proceedings.
I also just wanted to get clarification on whether you would be discussing the oil and gas ordinance tonight at all, or if that is a completely it's totally off the table.
It is not an agenda item, however, during commissioner comments, there could be some discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's basically all I had to add at this point, other than just mentioning that I think that the way that the ordinance is drafted really just gives carte blanche and ties your hands as representatives of your community to actually ensure that health, safety, cultural welfare, and all of these environmental concerns are addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford.
I have electrical sensitivity, so I can't use a microphone, but I've got a loud voice.
Okay, sir, go right ahead.
And I prepared for 2 minutes, but I'll try to make it one. I'm a retired publishing executive from one of the largest corporate, one of the Thompson Company, Canadian company with thousands of companies around the world. We all know that drilling for oil is a risky business. And what the Oil and Gas Association is not telling you is that a significant number of small and independent oil companies go bust when their luck runs out. It's all in the mathematics of probability. When it comes to oil drilling, not everyone can be a winner. And I have personal experience with an independent oil and gas company back east. This company bought into a number of existing producing wells, and given the recession and a stream of bad luck with their operations, they still managed to go bankrupt. Given my corporate experience, I was elected by the other investors to the bankruptcy court's mandated board of directors to oversee the liquidation process. I can tell you that when an oil company goes bankrupt, there's a mad scramble for its remaining assets, and there is absolutely nothing left for the process of cleaning up a drill site.
Thank you, Mr. Barth. Thank you. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Brooke?
Brooke.
Brooke. Sorry.
Good evening, Chairman Chapman, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Bruck, and I live in Placitas, New Mexico. Quite simply, the proposed oil and gas ordinance helps the industry and hurts people. Under the current zoning ordinance, oil and gas drilling is a special use. You are fully aware of this, as are other industrial intensive operations. Under the proposed ordinance, oil and gas drilling would become a permissive use. A special use requires the County Commission to vote on the approval of an application. Permissive use excuses the County Commission from making any vote and leaves the decision-making process in the hands of county staff. The decision to approve a process that has the potential to affect the health, quality of life, and the community should not be left to staff. The decision should be made by our elected officials after a thorough public review of the application. And I know that if I were a county commissioner, that's what I would do. There should be no rush to approve bad legislation. Any company can submit an application for oil and gas drilling tomorrow morning. This ordinance needs to be revised and the community's voice heard. And the people are saying no to this ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Thank you.
Louder, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, I want you to realize that we have just gone through this period of working on the ordinance, and we have an ordinance that is totally slanted to allow the oil industry access without preserving and protecting the people that live in these communities. And I want to make it clear that I realize that nobody on the Commission had any expertise in this field. And I realize that the Planning and Zoning Commission had no expertise in this field. But you have two people in this room who are experts that could have helped you develop a really good oil and gas ordinance, and you did not choose them. It is inexcusable that we now have an ordinance like this that is worthless, quite frankly. But it's not worthless to you because it will actually bring in oil companies to drill. It's worthless to those of us who have to live here in this community and find out what happens when you don't have proper rules to take care of the community. And so what we need to do is we need to start over and rewrite this ordinance and expand its scope to include about equal solar energy and wind with the oil and gas wells that the Commission is so excited about. That new start could be a tremendous move in the forward direction. And this is what needs to be done.
Thank you, sir. Stephanie Lee.
Might be safety over here, considering what happened last time.
Good evening, Commissioners. Stephanie Lee. As I mentioned before, I'm married to a business owner. What I maybe didn't mention was I have 4 daughters. I'm a proud mother. I'm a kindergarten, 2nd grade, 3rd grade teacher. What else I am is an Italian. A very proud Italian, might I tell you. I'm here today to tell you about how great public education is. And I think, Commissioner, considering your degrees from University of New Mexico, you can say that public education actually is a great thing. My 2nd daughter, 2nd oldest, attended Rio Rancho Public Schools, actually all 4 of ours. Totally union, wall-to-wall district. Great education. She was accepted at Air Force Academy. So for the Commissioner to make a horrible statement saying that educators are the fault of the education system today is wrong. And I'm here today, Commissioner, you owe educators, public educators, an apology. Your comments were terrible, and we expect that.
Satriana.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to jump on board with Ms. Lee and her comments. Not only do you owe an apology to the public educators, Commissioner, but to the Italians as well for attacking the Italian race in the comment that you did make. I too am an educator. I have been in the education field for 26, 27 years. I coach high school baseball and high school football at Rio Rancho High School. Go Rams. With that being said, public education has done wonders for my children. I now have twin sons that went through the public education at Rio Rancho High School, and I will say one of the top educations in the state. And they're both successful now. One's in Houston with a great job, just had a baby girl. My other son is an educator now with a kinesiology degree, but chose to go to the teaching area of education and put that to work because he loves coaching as well. So to make attack on public education and Italians, not good, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ashley
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ashley Long. I'm a proud member of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 794. I'm the proud product of New Mexico's public schools and higher education institutions. I'm the daughter of the ilk you mentioned, both public educators, rank and file dues paying members of AFT New Mexico and NEA New Mexico. The ilk you speak of is a 2nd grade teacher who is teaching at the very school she attended as a child. The other ilk you speak of is my father, an Air Force veteran who also served in the National Guard, who's recently retired, a high school history teacher. So I take it very personal. I think you owe all public educators an apology. You owe women an apology. You owe Italians an apology. I implore you to do so. Thank you.
Isaiah Zemke.
Good evening, Commissioners. Isaiah Zemke, representative of the sheet metal workers of New Mexico. I was appalled by the last meeting we held on October 5th, and I assumed the ability to walk out on this committee, on this commission. Since then, and the Charlottesville, we put together a resolution, and I'm going to read it to you. And it's on our social media site and was voted through our membership. Whereas Sheet Metal Workers Local Union 49 represents over 750 members, and it identifies as a diverse and multicultural organization of race, religion, nationality, and gender. And whereas we believe that racism, bigotry, and hate have no place in our organization, and whereas, as affirmed by the United States Constitution and our forefathers, all men, women, and children are created equal and have the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zemke. Bob Lightforce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I don't want to use up a full minute because I'm very offended by the whole thing of a minute. I think it's illegal. I think if you were taken to court, you would lose. But I got one question. How much money can the Koch brothers give you as a pay-to-play before it's considered a bribe on the headlines of every newspaper?
Good evening, Commissioners. I believe the Stoddard ordinance should not be approved. You guys actually ignored your own P&Z commission to the point where the chairman resigned. There's something really wrong with this picture. You violated the democratic process by rushing to approve this ordinance, which was written by the oil and gas industry. It doesn't protect the health and safety of the community. It doesn't protect air, water, or our property values. There are no financial damages that can be gotten from oil and gas from damage to the environment. No water conservation, no safety plan, no emphasis on renewable economic development, no acknowledgement of archaeological protection for the Pueblos. It doesn't do anything for my economic development, but it certainly may destroy my property values.
Thank you,
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Connie Durr. I live in District 2. I'm also the Executive Director of AFSCME, the Public Employees Union. First, I was disheartened to hear the abhorrent comments at the last meeting. The slurs against Italian Americans, the slurs against the teachers, the slurs against a union leader, the slurs against another union, the Teamsters Union, that you made. And then also to hear 3 random comments about incidents of employee complaints that weren't even from New Mexico, much less even the Southwest. But what I wanted to hear and what everyone in the room wanted to hear is your justification to support right to work. Every piece of research shows that right to work is associated with lower wages and lower benefits. Every piece of research shows that in states with right to work, the average worker makes $1,500 less per year, 3.2% less than in a non-right to work state. And that is factoring in any differences for cost of living. The research shows that supporting right to work is clearly saying that you want your workers to make less and you want them to have lower benefits. This is an illegal ordinance, and we strongly encourage you not to support right to work. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eddie Pulsgrove. I'm a geologist and a retired regulatory project manager. I only have one thing to really tell you. It's an arbitrary and capricious decision making. There's a two-pronged test. First test is, what's your file look like? I'm sure your file's going to look good. Second test is, how much knowledge do you really have about the ordinance you're going to finalize? You got nothing. But what you did do that was smart is you had tech under contract to come up with the data that you need to make an intelligent decision on data that you just don't have. It comes out in May in 2018. The fact that you would vote prior to that is clearly an arbitrary and capricious decision, and now that I've told you about it, it's a knowing and willful arbitrary and capricious decision. So that's really all I got. Thanks.
Vaughn, last name's Vaughn. I can't read the first name, sorry. Is it?
That's Reagan.
Reagan, okay, sorry.
That's
Reagan
fine.
Vaughn.
I'm here to switch gears just for a second.
Thank you.
My name's Reagan Vaughn. I'm the New Mexico manager. I'm sorry. I'm Reagan Vaughn. I'm the New Mexico manager for Universal Waste Systems Incorporated. I just came up to give you a quick update on our activities in the last 2 months since you approved our contract. So currently we are in the process of acquiring our local yard. We've ordered all of our containers and purchased our collection vehicles. We are accepting applications for local positions. We have our local phone number, and our website is up accepting subscriptions at this time. Commissioner Holden Rhodes, I haven't met you before. Nice to meet you. Commissioner Heil and Commissioner Eichwald. We're in your districts currently doing physical audits of the area. We're also conducting public presentations, sending out flyers, and implementing our flyering campaign. And we've received just really great response, not only in the communities that currently don't have access to service, but we're also getting great response from customers that do have service. We're invested in the community, and we look forward to our January 1st start date. Thank you.
Ms. Vaughn. Sally Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I am aware of the planning and zoning ordinance, and was very impressed by the work that's been done to analyze both of them. I live in the town of Bernalillo. I'm a grandmother, great-grandmother, and I want to be able to know that my family can continue to live here in safety, but also in trusting democracy. And I think the offer to do a facilitated meeting is real and very essential for our community. I think the divisiveness that's happening around this ordinance is a threat to our own democracy. In our country right now, that's critical. The other piece is that this zoning ordinance that you're considering clearly shifts costs that are risks to the people. We've been doing that in this country. I'm sure you've seen that in the courts. And it's a lot of cost to people. The other piece is that people are losing their faith in government because government appears to be favoring corporations. So again, I really urge you to take Donna's request to heart and to do a facilitated way of coming up with an ordinance that builds on the incredible expertise that you have here and builds community. Thank you so much.
James Macklin.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is James Macklin. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I wanted to respond to comments made about right to work and about my union president that were made in the last Commissioner meeting. First of all, saying that you're for unions and being for the right to work is like being for car safety, but believing people should be able to choose whether or not to wear their seatbelt. Around the state, Teachers spend every waking hour thinking about just that one child who is right on the edge of a breakthrough, but not quite there yet. Every day, our children come into our classrooms carrying the burdens of a home life, not knowing when their next meal will be when they get home. They're thinking of mom and dad who are working 2 or 3 jobs and never being there for them, of horrific abuse and neglect. And our teachers are expected to act as if none of this matters. They are under a constant barrage of mandates, paperwork, documentation, test prep, and are told that they're worth as an educator. They're told they're worth an educator by mathematical equation that no one can understand or explain. So we are not fighting to keep. I got news for you guys. It's not the bad teachers who are leaving. It's the good ones. Our union is fighting to keep the good ones.
Thank you. So there were some folks that signed up for agenda item 8A. I want to give you the opportunity to speak, even though 8A is being removed from the agenda. I'm going to call the people that signed up for that. You deserve a right to speak as well. Miguel Suazo.
Thank you, Commissioners. You know, I think you've heard every legal and factual argument that I can present to you related to this ordinance. So I'm not gonna focus on that tonight. I'm gonna focus on, you know, the Constitution and what we the people actually means. You know, the framers of the Constitution really focused on this issue and deciding what kind of government they're going to give to us to preserve. And there's 85 letters called the Federalist Papers. I encourage you to read Federalist 10 and 37 to understand the struggle that they went through. What they gave us was a democratic republic, not a pure democracy. You see, the framers feared 3 things: hegemony, oligarchy, and pure democracy. And they gave us a democratic republic so that people like you could represent the people's interests, not do everything that you're told. There's a silent majority out there that is in need of jobs, who's not here, that won't be here because they're too busy. And this ordinance is the right balance, and it needs to be enacted because those people have been waiting 700 days for this ordinance to pass, and they're still waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Suazo. Martha Engberg.
Hi, Commissioners. I'm Martha Engberg, and I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm here representing Food and Water Watch and our 10,000 members, many from Sandoval County. I urge the board to reject the Stoddard ordinance. The ordinance does absolutely nothing to address the risks of health and safety that can come with resource extraction activities. And taking away any public hearing or input goes against the fundamental basics of democracy. Procedural justice demands public policy be based on mutual respect and justice for everyone. This includes the right to equal participation in all phases of decision making. Oil and gas companies prioritize their profits over the people, and their first concern is absolutely not their protection. I'm from Pennsylvania, a state that's deeply involved with the oil and gas industry, and back in my home state, I'll use a county as an example. The $300 fine that you are proposing for violating the ordinance has absolutely no way of fixing any problem that might occur. At one site in my home state, there were 3 spills in 1 week, and they contaminated the waters of residents, and the state fined the company $240,000, but it took $10 million to supply those affected homes with drinking water. So that's 40 times more than what they fined. It's easy to detach yourself from these issues if they do not directly affect you, but I assure you, for many people in my home state and across the country, they're very real.
Thank you, Ms. Enberg. Thank you.
I urge you to reject this ordinance and restore the public's trust in you to protect their right to participation, self-determination, and justice.
Thank you, Ms. Enberg. Karen Young.
Karen Yank, Turquoise Trail Preservation Trust. I urge the commission to also vote down the Stoddard ordinance. but I'm going to take my time right now to plead with you to have some kind of reason in your approach to working with the people. You've heard it over and over. They're begging you to have a participating action in this, and you are not listening, and you're not letting them be involved. At the next meeting, I urge you to find a larger venue that everyone can be here. We have hundreds of people that aren't getting to be in here. And I also, out of practicality, you're having so much input tonight and this isn't even on the agenda now, and there's so many people wanting to speak. It's going to go on all night. So I would clear your agenda and only do oil and gas that night. But find a better venue. Listen to your people.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Last name is Mendez? Friar Mendez? Sorry, I can't read the writing. Laura Riley. Laura Riley? Okay, she took off. All right, Matthew Carl?
Good evening, Commissioners. Here about the oil and gas ordinance. I was not party to any of the discussion before tonight. I don't know what was argued about. 750 feet from my home seems ridiculously short. This obviously needs more discussion, in my opinion. If you do proceed as it appears like you're going to, which is to vote for this ordinance as it stands, each of you up here is responsible for any environmental difficulties that are created by passing this without any further discussion. Thank you.
Is there anyone that would like to address the commission that didn't get a chance to sign up that's in the room? Yes, sir. This gentleman in the back in the orange shirt. And then I'm going to take the gentleman with the ball cap on. Please state your name and number, sir.
Dave Harper, Placitas.
Name and address.
Dave Harper, 83 Camino del Oso, Placitas. I've been to a lot of these meetings. Sometimes I come for people who own a piece of land, maybe a couple acres. They want to have their aging parent live in a house next door. They've got the acreage, they've got the ability for water, they've got the septic stuff covered, and yet they still have to come to a hearing to allow their family member to live on their property. They have to come to a hearing. They always get approved, mind you, but it shocks me that to drill an oil and gas well, you don't have to come to a hearing, you don't have to do anything. It's just a paperwork thing. Someone's got to come just to let their family member live on their property, which seems to me ridiculously reasonable. Shouldn't at least there be a hearing for when someone wants to potentially pollute the groundwater? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Then I'm going to have Mr. Van Horn. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity to speak. Matthew Eldringhoff, Rio Rancho. I'll make this very brief, 30 seconds. Oh, certainly. Is that loud enough? Yeah. Thank you. You, and you. You vote for this? The most dangerous person is not a person with a gun. The most dangerous person is an accountant. Okay? So whatever kickback may be coming at you under the table, and if you vote for this, there are individuals like me and individuals here who will remember that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Van Horn.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Steve Van Horn. I live in Rio Rancho. Just wanted to ask you all to hear my words as words for a group of people from the county that aren't here tonight, because they really are trusting all of you as our elected officials to use reason and think about this ordinance from the perspective about what's best for the whole county. And we trust you to do that. So we choose not to come. I'm the president of the Rio Rancho Tea Party. I think you know that. So I speak with all of their voice to tell you that I don't really see anything in this ordinance that I think we should be afraid of. I don't think we want an ordinance that's going to shut out the oil industry at all. I think it has to be balanced, and we trust you to come up with that balance. We thank you, and the last thing I'll say is democracy in its pure form is mob rule. And that's why we have a republic and trust you to make the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Horn. Young lady in the blue t-shirt.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Nadine Morales de La Jara, Nuevo Mexico. I wouldn't expect you guys to know people like me because I spend my time grading papers. I wouldn't expect you guys to know about people like me because I'm stuck at school making sure that last kid gets home safe. But I wouldn't expect you guys to know about people like me because I'm writing lesson plans to ensure my students get the proper public education they deserve. But I wouldn't expect you guys to know about people like me because I'm a unionist. And when I get out of school, I go help my colleagues to ensure that their rights are met, that they are respected, and that their field is respected. The comments that were made last meeting not only hurt me as a person, but having a family who's lived in Sandoval County for more than 10 generations, you also hurt my lineage and my heritage.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm allowing one more gentleman in the red jacket. Eric Manny, did you want to speak?
Yes, I did. I did sign up, but probably one of those you couldn't read. I apologize. Eric Manny, box 44151, Rio Rancho 87174. I'm not here to address any issue previously addressed tonight, but in a way, in a periphery, I did. I hope you'll consider directing the staff. I've been coming to these meetings since long before any of you guys were elected, long before a few people in our audience were born. And I've always had appropriate working accommodation for me to do my job as a reporter, basically a table and a chair. Tonight, I came in, we moved them around, changed them around. Tonight, I ended up over here, back where I've sat for a lot of time since this building opened. It was told I really wasn't supposed to be sitting there because now that's staff area. The designated area over here is 2 chairs. I would hope that just as you use precautions to take extra security when you know you're going to have controversial issues, that you could direct the staff to please just stick out 1 more table and 2 more chairs. And because we're trying to report the message to those people who couldn't get into the meeting tonight, and I hope you can consider that in the future. Otherwise, let me know. Otherwise, let me know, and I'll bring my own. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nally. I'm going to call that public comment for tonight. Thank you, everyone who came to the meeting to speak. Appreciate your passion and your input. We're going to move on with the agenda.